Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Fringe Coverage. This podcast profiles the story, swings, and stars of the LPGA Tour. Whether you're new to women's golf or a longtime fan, hopefully this podcast helps you develop your own rooting interest in women's professional golf. And we finally have another week of golf ahead of us. We're going to preview the Grant Thornton this week. But Tom, good to see you, buddy. What's new in your world?
Hey, Mark, how are you? Not much, staying afloat in between the holidays, just working and taking a break for a little LPGA talk. So
sounds like we both had a lot of work stuff going on and taking a quick lunch break here to have a little respite here. So Tom, we're going to preview a tournament. We're going to kind of set the table for the rest of the year here. But before we do, had a fun thing that I thought we could kick off. We're entering the holiday season here. We're already in it for those of you that just skip Thanksgiving altogether and start thinking about Christmas and pumpkin spice lattes. But got an email from a listener here a couple weeks ago that I figured this was the right time to bring it up. They mentioned that their wife is getting back into golf, and we're asking, what are good brands to shop for if you're trying to get someone get back into golf in this case, or just favorite gifts. And it got me thinking, just in general, golf is a bit of a personal preference sport of whether it's your club choice, brand choices, your apparel, your hats, all of your equipment. And I'm just curious, when you start thinking of gift giving or receiving, what are the gifts you think are really good to give, and what are the things that you think you should leave to the golfer themselves to maybe pick out for themselves?
This is a loaded question. I have a lot of thoughts.
Believe it or not. Just fire away, man.
Golf plus shopping. It's right in my wheelhouse. Well, first off, if this is somebody who's getting back into golf, this isn't just a straight novice who's never played before, who's never picked up a club. I would suggest a rangefinder. I play golf with a few people who don't use rangefinders, and I find that to be very odd because I would never know how to get better at golf if I didn't know how far I could hit my clubs, and if I didn't know which clubs to select when I'm a certain distance out.
Yeah.
Like if you're just starting off, you don't need this. You got to figure out how to get the damn ball off the ground. But once you play more often and you're trying to hone your game, then yeah, if you're 150 out, you should know that. So then you can figure out, I just hit the green with my 9-iron or something. Then this is a little thing I should notate. Maybe like a little yardage book even.
I like that. And maybe to take it a step further, you wanted you and me to do this about a month or two ago. The second piece of that is knowing how far you hit your clubs, and maybe in a more simulated environment, so you actually know once you get to the course what those distances are. Again, depending on how much you're looking to spend, because golf already is an expensive sport. If you're looking something outside of the ordinary to get them, it would be some type of a fitting, which is kind of the high end, or just a session at a range or someplace that has a simulator where you can go hit your clubs with someone who knows what they're doing to figure out, hey, I know you think you hit your 9-iron 145, but you're actually hitting it 132. I mean, that's a big difference there. That might be a fun thing and then get them the rangefinder to be able to then predict that out on the course.
You just described my ideal date night. Go out there, get your yardages, go grab some food afterward, maybe a drink or two. And yeah. And then at least it's putting the money towards something, right? Because it's almost, when I first started golfing, it felt so much like just spinning my wheels, not really knowing where my next step is, right?
Sure.
Like even at my point now, I'm kind of stagnant with my scoring. I've kind of plateaued a bit, and I'm struggling to find out like what's the next thing that I need to do. And you know what? It's probably as simple as just getting out on the course more, where I would rather just try to throw money at it and go buy like some kind of swing simulator for my garage, but really the answer is just practice.
It is interesting though, and not necessarily fair, is there is a point where you can throw money at the sport and see some improvement. I think that as recent as what 4 years ago, I was hitting clubs from the late 80s. No joke. I just absolutely loved my old Ping Blue Dots, and I'd always heard the technology got better, but until you actually hit a new club and re see how what your distance is, how they change. I'm a creature of habit. I liked what I had, and I didn't want to learn a new, what I thought was a whole new swing feel. But at the end of the day, it's still just swinging a golf club. Just the golf club does a lot more of the work now. It's kind of, for those of you skiers out there, it's the way skis have progressed over time. Is it's really hard to fall on skis now, but 30 years ago, you had to do a lot more work because they were basically racing boats that you were strapping to your feet. Shout out to my buddy Brandon, who taught me that years ago. But if once you get to that plateau point, I mean, you mentioned getting out on the course. It also means getting out to the range and doing more structured practice. And I've not got to that point. I've never been able to invest enough time. It's well chronicled here. I only play 6 or so rounds a year. But when I was playing a lot, I knew the next step for me to get kind of to consistently shooting low 80s and potentially break 80, I knew I was going to have to spend a significant amount of time on a putting green and a chipping green and really with that short game. Because I think you and I both lose a lot of strokes to the high 70s shooters and low 80s shooters that we don't necessarily realize. It's a putt here, there. It's a chip that we should be leaving with inside 3 feet and giving ourselves a gimme, as opposed to that, knee knocking 5.5 footer that will make 70% of the time, right? Like there's just, I think it is interesting though that you start getting yourself the equipment, whether it's the clubs, the rangefinder. And now I'm going to switch it on you here and go more the apparel route, right? And how much of this is, when you think golf apparel, it's come a long way, right? Especially on the women's side, I would say. Women's golf attire used to be just a men's polo made in their size and not something that anybody really wanted to wear.
You call it a women's polo.
Right. As you look at men's and women's fashion and as it relates to golf, what are the safe places to give gifts versus say, hey, just give them a gift card to let them go wild on their own selves shopping?
Okay, well now we're just giving out free ads here.
Yeah, man, go for it, man. Who cares?
I have a lot of Roback in my closet. I
Yeah.
have a lot of Grayson Clothiers in my closet.
Okay.
Probably too much. And again, I don't wear any of these on the golf course because I don't want to get them all sweaty and dirty. So I just wear them every other day. I remember one day I had to go to one of my kids' recitals at school, and some kid walks up to me and he goes, "Are you a golfer?" I go, "What do you mean?" He goes,
Yes.
"You dress like a golfer." I go, Yeah, I am a golfer.
I mean, I wear a lot of. It's funny, like athleisure used to certainly not mean anything in the men's space, and it first took off in the women's space, but now everything is just, I mean, I think you wear a lot of polos and joggers type looks, right?
God.
Both on and off. I mean, mainly off the course, to your point.
And I don't play polo and I don't jog, so that's what I wear.
Right. I mean, for me, my wife gave me a gift last year, and she knew that I'm a tinkerer. I don't know necessarily. I don't love to shop, so I'm not good at spending money. And I guess that's just a creative way of saying I'm cheap. And my wife talked to Peter Campbell, who you all heard a few episodes ago, join us, for former professional golfer and good buddy of ours. She just goes to Peter and says, "What should I get Mark this year?" And Peter this time said, "Hey, I think you need to give him a gift certificate to the club manufacturer that he uses." I currently play TaylorMade's, because he's got some weird gaps and he needs to decide where he wants to fill them, because I have a really weird gap between my long irons and my 3-wood. So potentially either a hybrid or a 5-wood situation there, or a new wedge, because Peter helped fit me into some new irons here over the last few years. And I've got a significant gap on the low end of my bag too. So he said, "Hey, Mark's not playing enough golf to know yet, so just let him have this gift card. And when he starts playing golf again, he'll decide where he wants to close that gap." I'm probably going to lean towards closing that long iron wood gap, because I'm afraid so much of hitting anything above 5 iron right now, which, look, I don't hit the ball that far. I probably hit a 5 iron consistently in the 185 range, and I that might even be a guess at this point. And then I hit a 3-wood like 230. So I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I mean, that's 50 yards that I should probably close a gap on. I have a 4 iron. I'm just afraid to hit it. I haven't put a 3 iron in my bag for years. So I need to figure out a couple clubs there. So that's what I'm going to do this Christmas.
I completely disagree. I think you should go for the wedge, because I think you're probably in that situation more often, where you would need, maybe you're missing a 60-yard club or something like that. That would be a situation you would find yourself in way more often than a 210 to the pin situation.
I see where you're going with that. I think my pushback there is the gap is so much bigger that it's not 50 yards. And you and I play enough executive courses that for better or for worse, I have taught myself how to choke down flight wedges, kind of hit those comfortably. So for example, I'm not exactly sure where my gap is now, but I think I might have a pretty egregious gap between like 100 and 120 and 20. I can choke down my pitching wedge and figure that out. Whereas I can't choke down a 3-wood to get me I don't have a 210 shot right now. Yeah. And I think when you start thinking about, there's some long par 3s these days that are asking that question. I'm also tired of just laying up on every par 5 if I don't have it, or I just know I'm going to go over the green in 2 with a 3-wood. That's kind of where I go with it. I've kind of been a tentative golfer my whole life. I would say I have a really good short game, and I'm just afraid of the long clubs, and I think it's time I man up a little bit.
All right. 2 thoughts. One, there's nothing called a gap iron for a reason, so get the wedge when you can. And number 2, I cannot choke up. I cannot do anything besides 100% of my swing.
I know.
When you say, "Oh yeah, I'll just choke up," I go, "That means nothing to me." I don't know why you would even do that, because it has never worked for me once. So that's
but I mean, you do know that. But I mean, besides a choke down, can you do abbreviated swings? Can you do a 3/4? Sawed off something.
My swing is pretty much like a John Rahm half.
Yeah,
swing.
You do have a shorty backswing, anyways, huh?
Yeah. So something else I need to work on.
Man, we
went off the rails a little bit on that.
No. I don't think we're off the rails at all. But it does show. I think this is a perfect example for those of you holiday gift givers that have a golfer on the receiving end of what you're looking for. Know that it can get pretty particular, pretty fast. And we just opened the brains of 2 guys that I would say are 2 of the less picky people I know. So just know that I think. If they like logos and brands, get them a hat or a shirt that's always safe that show that logo prominently. We talked about cool ball markers last time. Golf balls are the holy grail. We always need golf balls. I certainly always need golf balls. Our buddy Brian really needs golf balls. Rachel, if you're listening, let's get him some golf balls.
So I will push back a tiny bit. I'm not a big fan of personalized golf balls that have my name on them, because I don't know why I would want my name. Now, I got you some fringe coverage golf balls. Spread those around the course. Get our name.
Totally, that's free marketing.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't need anyone to say
oh, look, another Tom Bashar golf ball wide left in the man, haven't found any of these in the short grass anytime recently.
Exactly.
But I think golf balls
fun to put if I put your name on a golf ball and then I just hit it all over the place.
Or just don't even hit them, just sprinkle them throughout. Just get a bunch of dumpy top flights from years ago and stamp some logos on them and just line every, the fairway rough in a place that you should have found it and just be like, Mark Sawyer. Or do it with fringe coverage, because that would work well too. The last thing I'll say, you mentioned it, rounds of golf are really good. My wife knows that I wish I played more golf, and again, I'm cheap and don't have the time and all that stuff. My wife gives me a gift certificate to our golf course and says hey, go play it. She's kind of made the decision for me. Hey, I can watch the girls for a little bit. Go do the thing you love more than anything. So if you guys have someone like that in your life besides this podcast, I spend more on this podcast than I do both time and money on this podcast than I do my golf game.
Yeah, that's true. I've been so itchy. I've been looking at Torrey Pines 2 times left and right.
Oh, there you go.
I'm trying to get out there before the end of the year. It's gonna happen.
I still have never. I played it once, the North Course, years ago, but
you gotta move back to San Diego, my man.
I know. So, that was a fun little gift giving guide according to Fringe Coverage. If you guys do have questions about brands or anything like that, we're happy to answer them. And to those of you that have someone in your family that are big golf fans, we have no shortage of suggestions for you. So reach out. So with that, we mentioned we've had a couple off weeks here after the CME Group Tour Championship a few weeks back. We are now in the week of the Grant Thornton Invitational, and this is a very different looking event than everything else, even different than the International Crown. It is, in fact, a team event, but the headline here is this is a mixed co-sanctioned, co-ed event between the LPGA and the PGA Tour. So these are some of it's kind of a mix of the best stars, rising stars that team up to play in a very unique format golf tournament. They're competing for a prize fund of, I think it's $4 million. And I don't know if that's total purse or if that's split among the winners. But first off, this is played at Tiburon Golf Club. If that sounds familiar, that's because that's where the CME Group Tour Championship was a couple weeks ago. So I think they kind of keep their infrastructure that they had set up for that big tournament. And now the fans, that we're talking about the grandstands and signage and things like that they can easily change out for this event. So we'll be back at Tiburon. This is a 3-day event. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Each of the 3 days are different formats. So I'm going to share the formats, and then Tom's going to give us an idea of who the teams are this year. So again, there's 16 total teams, 1 man, 1 woman from the 2 respective tours. And this is the 3rd year of the event. First year, 2 years ago, Lydia Ko and Jason Day won the inaugural event. And last year, Patty Tavatanakit and Jake Knapp took the title. Pretty low-scoring affair. And here's how the format works. This is spread across, again, each day there is a different format. Day 1, Friday, December 12th, is a traditional scramble format. So each player is going to hit a tee shot, and then the team selects which of those tee shots they want, and then both players hit from that spot. So let's say it's a par 4. They both hit a drive. They like Tom's drive better. All right, which would definitely happen if you and I were a team. We then go to the spot where Tom's ball is lying. We then both put our balls down. We play another shot from there. We look whose ball is closer to the pin. We then play from there. So it's basically all the way in. That process continues all the way until the ball is holed.
Now, I am right in saying they play from different tees, correct?
Correct. They will play men's, women's tees.
And it's not necessarily whose ball is closer to the green. You pick the ball you want.
The ball you want, yeah. So if you don't like the slope you got to putt from, it is strictly up to the team each time where they want to play from. I might have hit a longer drive than you, but you've got a better angle in. All of those things will come into effect. Again, all the way from the tee box, all the way to the putt. I would be
interested to see the breakdown of that because, like, let's say you and I were playing and you left the shot, 90 yards in, but I'm 130 in. I feel way more comfortable hitting a 130 shot than I do a 90. Going back to the point where I can't do.
That's nuts, dude. That means we got to work on your wedges. Just stop right there. Okay, we know what to work on in the lab with you next time.
Well, my pitching
always
wedge,
closer.
130 is perfect for me. I would love that. But 90, I don't know what to do.
I can, other than like a tee ball that goes really far but wayward, invariably over 90% of the time they're going to choose the ball that is further down because it just gives them more comfort, because unlike you, the shorter the club, the distance away, the more comfortable they feel. And then again, same thing with chipping. They're going to look at a lie, things like that. Like if they're both short and they're in the rough, which very rare in an event like this where 2 people get to hit from the same spot and they're choosing the best drive, which usually means they're hitting out of fairways and they're putting from greens. There's not a whole lot of, hey, how the heck do we play this after we've hit 2 balls from each spot? They're going to have a good one in most cases. You and I, on the other hand, we'd be all over the map regardless of whether we're both playing. So that's scramble format, day 1 on Friday. We moved to Saturday, probably my favorite format, whether it's Ryder Cup, President's Cup, Solheim Cup. I love alternate shot. So Saturday, as a reminder, Friday, they're both hitting from every spot and getting the best of one of their 2 balls. Foursomes or alternate shot on Saturday, this is just I hit, then you hit. So each player on a team, so I start the hole, and I tee off. Wherever that ball goes, Tom, you are hitting the next shot. Wherever you go, wherever that ball goes, I'm hitting the next one until it is holed. We pre-designate who tees off on the odd and even holes, so it doesn't matter if I was the last to putt on the second hole. If I'm the tee ball on all the odd holes, I will still hit the tee ball on 3, even though I was the last one to hit on the previous hole. Basically, it resets every hole. So we would look at a scorecard in this case and say, all right, Tom, you're our long hitter. And it looks like 3 of the 4 par 5s are odd holes. Let's make sure we get you with driver in your hand because I'm a liability with that. You're the one that's going to hit more fairways or hit it further. Or conversely, if we like something with par threes and wedges or things like that, the way it lines up, they'll look in advance, and that's how they'll decide. Each team decides who goes off on the odd holes, who goes off on the evens, and from there, you just hit alternate shot all the way in. I think this is fascinating. It makes for worse scores because, again, you don't get the luxury of, again, two people hitting from all the way in. So it's a little bit more volatile, but you really have to have a good partner and hope your games are similar in that sense.
It would be interesting to see how these teams attack this option where, are we assuming that most of the men are hitting on the par fives just because they can probably drive longer, even though the ladies are playing from closer tees? I would like to see that. Is it 50-50 or is it, 90% of the men are going at the same time? I've never done research on that, but I'd like to see how this plays out.
Yeah, I would be curious to see when you line up Tiburon from the tips for the men and from the championship teams for the ladies, where their drives net out because once you get to the fairway, it's the same course, right? And is a guy, so if the average tour distance is 290, 300 for the PGA and the average woman is hitting it 260, how much of that 30-yard gap is being closed just by the separation of where the tee boxes are? And then it also brings into, well, who's better with their long irons and what do you want in? So you're right. I do think it's the most fascinating thing is how you approach it. And also, like, bad stuff's going to happen. And do you like the way you've positioned yourself to handle that? But by far, I do think I would love play this format with you at some point. It always feels lame to like rob ourselves of a full round of golf and hitting every shot because you and I always want to try to better our own score. Yeah. But to say, hey, you're only going to hit, 40 shots today is something that you can't just go pay for. Like that's weird to pay for 2 rounds of golf and only hit half the shots. But I think you and I would have a blast with this, and it would bring out kind of more the fun camaraderie team element of it. We got to figure out a way to do this that maybe a course would let fringe coverage on and maybe film some content.
Wow, now we're talking. We got to find an opponent too.
Yeah, that would be true. Or maybe I'll play 2 balls. One is your teammate, and one I'll tee up another one. Like I'll play us.
Perfect.
Sunday is what they call modified 4-ball, and this is unique. You don't see this at a lot of whether corporate golf tournaments. This is not something that is very common. The modified 4-ball format, both players are going to tee off the way they would on Friday in a scramble format, but then they're going to switch balls. So, Tom, I'm going to hit a tee shot and you're going to hit a tee shot. Then we're going to go out to the fairway and I'm going to go to your ball and you're going to go to mine. And we're going to then play that same ball until it's holed. So it's not scramble all the way in. It's just basically once the tee balls are hit, you go to your partner's ball, and that is now your ball the rest of the way. So I'll be curious. And again, the lower score of the partners is then counted as the team score. So there will be 2 balls in play. If you got a birdie and I got a par, your birdie is what counts. And same thing goes for that. This is the one day where that's going to matter because we're going to have a different result playing our own ball. I'm really curious how the scores play out on this in comparison to the others. Because
which score would be the low? I mean, Friday would be the lowest score,
right?
And
right.
Then
what? 2 balls all the way in. I would think modified 4-ball would be the second best, and I think that's by design because on Sunday you would want some low scores, good entertainment when it matters, as opposed to it just being really penal. And if you show up, again, Saturday is the only day where you're only hitting half the shots. I think you want to see the full repertoire of both golfers, especially in the final round. So I would think if you do an analysis post, and we can do a post-mortem on this to see if we were right, I would think scramble is going to be the lowest score, then modified 4-ball, and alt shot would be the worst. Would you agree with that?
Probably, yeah. That's what makes the most sense to me anyway.
So that's the format, and again, each day your scores are going to tabulate like any other golf tournament across 3 days. Who's got the low score wins. So with that, I think what people are going to be most interested in are the teams. So Tom, why don't you first start with who the teams are, and then maybe we can afterwards see which ones maybe catch our attention, and also talk about how they're formed afterwards.
Yeah. Okay, so we have Daniel Berger and Charlie Hull pairing up.
Love that.
Macaulay and Jess Corda, not Nelly Corda. We're talking about her sister Jessica. Luke Clanton and Lottie Wode, Wyndham Clark and Lexi Thompson, Corey Connors and Brooke Henderson, Jason Day and Lydia Ko, Tony Finau, Lilia Vu, Chris Gotterup and Jennifer Kupcho, Tom Hoagie and Angel Yin, Billy Horschel and Andrea Lee, Michael Kim and Rose Zhang, Jake Knapp and Patty Tavatanikit, Danny McCarthy and Nelly Corda, Keith Mitchell and Megan Kang, Andrew Novak and Lauren Coughlin, and Neil Shipley and Maya Stark. Now,
Man,
yeah.
first off,
that I
pronunciation, buddy. You crushed all of those.
I've been practicing. Now, the first thing I noticed here is obviously there's no Gino Titicum out here. There's no Scotty Scheffler. There's no Rory.
Yeah.
So this has a real strong stench of Pro Bowl to me. This has like, a little bit of
Sure.
NBA All-Star game where like the biggest names just go, I think I'd rather just take a break. This seems fun and all, but yeah, I've already made my name and I don't really want to play in this. I mean, good for Nelly. Nelly's out there. She's the highest ranked person on this list.
Well, and I think your Pro Bowl take is a good one also, just because it's after the season, right? And everyone else is taking their break. This doesn't come with CME points for the women. There is a purse that comes with it, and we'll get into a second how these teams how the pairings are made. I'll be curious whether it's how they're throwing their hats in the ring, how many teams they can actually, if 16 is their cap. Let's talk about the teams a little bit, and then I think you and I can probably dive real deep on how we feel about this tournament, maybe some enhancements for it. So I'll start by kind of flagging a couple matchups, not matchups, but pairings I like, or maybe that are unique. So I love Daniel Berger and Charlie Hull. I think the Charlie piece is well documented. That will be a very fun, dynamic pairing. Another one that I think golf nuts will like, Luke Clanton and Lottie Wode are arguably the two best young golfers in the world in their respective tours. Luke Clanton is as young as it gets, as green as it gets, and yet everyone who is an expert in golf has said, like, watch out for this dude. He's going to wreck shop on the PGA Tour. And Lottie wasted no time doing that. As soon as she joined, she was already tearing up the amateur ranks, and now that she's got her tour card, she's already, what did she finish? Almost top 10 in the CME, and she made the CME with half a season's work, not even. So I think that's a fun one. Just two of the young bucks. Corey Connors and Brooke Henderson, that's a Canadian connection there. So those are both Canadians. I think that is probably part of the secret sauce that made that pairing possible. We mentioned Jason Day and Lydia Ko won 2 years ago. That's a fun New Zealand-Australia tie. I love Finau and Lilia Vu. Lilia's a UCLA girl. That's where I went to school. I think those two are a fun pairing out there. And then there's also just some very random pairings out there as well, like Denny McCarthy and Nelly Corda. Really curious where that one comes from. Nelly loves Tiburon. I think that's why she's out there. And the fact that her sister's playing too, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a larger sponsor play here or commitment by them. And then just
that'd be a fun foursomes. I don't know how they're gonna arrange the foursomes, but that'd be kind of fun to have the sisters at least out there together.
And then I would say the high energy grouping, or not high energy, like the most humor, like if they're going to do walk and talks or anything, look out for Keith Mitchell and Megan Kang. They will be two of the most fun out there. There will be a lot of smiles and probably a lot of smack talk happening between those two. So keep an eye on those. Anything else on the team front that stands out to you or things you're looking forward to?
No, I think that'd be a lot of fun. My eye for some reason went to Wyndham Clark and Lexi Thompson. At the Genesis earlier this year, Wyndham Clark hit a ball that bounced and hit my daughter, so I kind of have some affinity for him because he came over and gave us a little like, "Hey, everyone, all right here? Cool." And I like rooting for Lexi, so that would be a fun pairing for me to watch. I don't know, man. Just this it's a cool format. I wonder if maybe they did this maybe mid-season to kind of get more eyes on this. Having it at the end of the season does kind of feel a bit stale to me. It seems like a fun event that could bring in both the PGA and the LPGA fan bases. Obviously, I'm assuming they asked Scotty and Gino and Rory, and they probably were just saying like, "Our seasons are over. I'd rather not." Whereas they might be more inclined to do this later on, but also that could definitely be a time where they would say, "I would rather practice my own stuff for an event that actually matters." It's kind of a tough situation.
Co-sign everything you just said. I mean, it's
I wonder
so.
if they were at the beginning, like a preseason style thing, if they would be more willing to get out there and play.
I certainly think that's a better idea than postseason the way it is now. I'm with you. You know, I always think of the PGA Tour. They kind of have their Hawaii launch. You know, I'm sure we don't even understand the half of how hard it is to put together. We've been talking a ton about scheduling and all those things just on one tour. Imagine trying to PGA Tour and LPGA Tour trying to combine forces. Look, as long as it's an event that's got no CME points attached to it, and you know, the purse is what it is. Like, I think it will be hard to get, and it's post tour championship. There's just too much working against it to make it a big deal. Like, as big of an LPGA golf fan as it is, I'm kicking my feet up and I might not watch this. And that's not a slight on the Grant Thornton Invitational. It's December and I've watched 11 months of golf and I may not care about this hit and giggle that doesn't impact next year's tour standings at all. So
and it's also just a super busy time for everybody. You know,
yeah.
work, personal, just everyone has something going on. I like this as a preseason event. It's one of those situations where, you know, you've been without golf for a couple months.
Sure.
Then at that point, it's any port in a storm. If you go, hey, there's a co-sanctioned event in, you know, early January, I go, oh, yeah, I haven't watched golf in a while. Let me turn this on then. You know, it'll satisfy your little golf itch.
I need you to kind of workshop this. This isn't an idea. It's where some of my internal conflict comes with this event. The main reason I like this event is because of what it could do for the LPGA. We've long since said that for the PGA Tour to talk about the LPGA Tour and the PGA golfers to talk about LPGA golfers is such a big deal. There is currently such a larger following for the men's game. And those are golf enthusiasts, not men's golf enthusiasts. Those are people that just haven't seen the women's game. And to have this platform, to have some of the best in the men's game stand alongside the best in the women's game and say, hey, watch her long iron from 240, like whatever it is. I think this is a really good stage. I think it's falling short of creating the stage and platform I want it to because of all the things you just said, right? Like, it's in the wrong time of year. We don't have the best names. Well, how do you get the best names? Well, if you make it an actual co-sanctioned event that has tour points, well, then it has to be open invitation to everybody. This is a closed off field. You know, you run into discussions like Live Golf runs into, right? Of like, well, people didn't qualify for this. They just got selected by tournament officials or the tournament director or a sponsor. And, you know, I think it's probably hard to have just a bunch of twosomes go out across a course over the course of 3 days. That just the math of that from a tee times perspective might not do well. So I think my end result here is I think I like co-ed events. I don't think this is the form. I don't think a team setting is the right one. There have been attempts. There's been the Scandinavian mixed. There's been a couple others where straight up men and women play the same golf course as singles. And the women play from the women's tees, men play from the men's. May the best man or woman win. And Lynn Grant has won that twice. And I find that highly entertaining. But there's something about this team element that, like, when I hear Jason Day and Lydia Ko is benefiting from getting Jason Day's name next to hers. And Lydia is one of the biggest names on the LPGA Tour. So I don't know if there's a question anywhere in there, but it's what goes on in my head every time I see this of, I want the men's game and the women's game to be talked about in the same breath, and this feels like the natural way to do it, but it is not having the impact that I would want it to. So the timing would have to change, the sponsor investment would have to change, the tours would have to work way more in tandem to do it. And I'm so far removed from how decisions get made that I just feel like we may always be having this discussion, and the best way for the men's game to lift the women's game is not a co-sanctioned event. It's for the Rorys and Tigers and Justin Thomases of the world to make a concerted effort to talk about the women more, which, you know, they don't get paid to do. But that's what I'm afraid of, is this event is missing the mark of what I want it to be.
Yeah, to your point earlier, I mean, I don't think that they could make this worth actual points because, you wouldn't want Tony Finau's season to hinge on what Lilia Vu does in this event. That wouldn't necessarily be fair.
Sure. But they do it already. There's a men's match play. There's men's pairings. Like there is a PGA Tour event that is you and me, low score wins, and it counts. And so I am dependent on your score. Like, look, I think a lot of people might say, like, throw this in TGL. Like, you want the women, like, get them in there and have them start getting some more eyeballs on that type of broadcast coverage. I'm here for that. Like, I do feel like this is already kind of a hit and giggle. Like, it's not necessarily a really serious event. So maybe that's what it is. But here's the thing. I think we have to allow ourselves to get a little weird with this. And that's where I think you probably come in from a creativity perspective of, like, let's not just do another 72-hole stroke play event where the men and women play together. Like, what would be your ideal preseason, tee-off event that has some star power? Like, why did that Skins game last the other week during Thanksgiving? Why weren't there women in that? Like, how do we put them on the same stage that actually has entertainment value that men's golf fans aren't gonna immediately turn off? Like, I don't know. Again, I ask a lot of rhetorical questions here, but I think they maybe need to just get outside their traditional golf lens and say, maybe we just need to make an entertainment product event, not a, hey, this needs to count towards the tour schedule point standings event.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I'm just a basic millennial, but, a draft. I always love a good draft.
And that's the thing,
we have the
right?
LPGA women, pull names out of a hat to figure out an order, and then they get to draft their partner.
And I think
that would be fun.
I think that's the perfect segue to talk about how these teams are actually selected. So, you look at Patty Tavatanakit and Jake Knapp. They didn't just say, hey, you want to do this again? Or you want to, like, they may have very little say in this, but tournament officials, led by the tournament director of Grant Thornton, they decide the pairings for this event. The process is a collaboration between both tours. And the goal, as they stated, is to create dynamic mixed teams with current year winners, like who won on those respective tours this past year, rising stars, hence the Luke Clanton and Lottie Wode pairing, and established veterans, hence the Lexi Thompson, Nelly Korda names. That removes all the fun for everything you just said. Like, how do we do, like, make it weird, do dodgeball picks, just like straight up go down the rankings. Like, I don't even care if this is the list of people that are in it, which I wish it was an elevated field, but even if it is, go by ranking or out of a hat, whatever, whether you want to say, hey, Lydia, you are the top ranked female, you get first pick. Jason, you're the top ranked male, you get second pick. Or just, and make people, make people feel bad to be the last pick. I don't care. Like, do something that's newsworthy. And I'm sure they have a lot of people to balance and they don't want anyone feeling left out. Like, hey, I just entered my name into this limited field event for you, the sponsor, and now you're going to make me get picked last. I don't feel good about that. Someone's going to have to get over themselves for this to actually be fun. But wouldn't that, like, draft mentality or like a fan pick, like, hey, do something that would make fans interested in how these teams are formed, not just tell me, hey, these two people that don't know each other this week are all of a sudden teammates.
Of course. Hey, Corey and Brooke, you're Canadian, you're on a team together.
And you know what, that might be one of the exceptions where they actually know each other and like each other because they grew up playing Canadian juniors together, I imagine. But for some of these other ones, maybe there's a backstory on everyone I don't know about. I just have a feeling these aren't just all best friends.
Right. If I remember correctly, they first brought this up, at least as far as I can remember. The NHL did this because their All-Star game was getting stale, and then they said, we are going to have captains that the fans pick. And hell, you could do that here. You could have fans pick who you want to be the captain of this or whatever. And then they had a draft. And I believe the person that was picked last got to a vehicle or some sort to kind of like appease them. Like, hey, sorry you were picked last, but here's a Honda Ridgeline or something like that. So everyone's happy about that. You know what I would find very interesting?
Here we go. This is what I want.
If you let you picked half of the players, so you picked 16 of the players and say, draft whoever you want. If you want to draft a woman, you can draft a woman as your teammate. And if two women want to go out there together and try to win this, why not? I mean, they're playing from different tees. After that, it's pretty much all the same. I would love to see. I mean, I think it would be pretty noteworthy if two women could go out this and run shop. If Jess and Nelly paired up together and were able to somehow win this.
I mean, yeah, right. Like, I would much rather watch Nelly and Jessica Korda team up in this event than Jessica Korda and Bud Colley and Denny McCarthy and Nelly Korda, like there's a storyline to the Korda sisters.
Why do I keep calling her Jess? Do people actually call her Jess Korda, or am I just overlooking?
Yeah, people. Yeah, she goes by Jessica or Jess.
I know her as Jess. But
Your good
everywhere on
friend
this-
Jess Korda?
The website is Jessica, so just wanted to make sure that
Your good friend Jess.
me and Jess are squared. Me and Nell.
You guys go way. Yeah. Well, I do. There's a place for this tournament, not in its current form, in my opinion, but there's a place for this. I think you put I think your preseason idea is probably the best one to get people re-excited for golf in a low stakes environment. I think that's a good thing. I do think some level of fan engagement, or from a team's perspective, or at least a picking element amongst the teams, because maybe you mentioned all the names that aren't here, and who knows who they could get or who was even invited. Like, was Scotty invited? I don't know that. Like, does Grant Thornton or the tournament director call all these people, say, are you in? And we'll work our way down the PIP list, like the player impact list of like, who are the needle movers? Or is it a matter of like, we know that these people have it in their contracts because they're some of these are Grant Thornton athletes, right? So, and I'm not against that. It's just, this is an underbaked field. There's not enough people. It's an underutilized concept, and I think there's just more to it. But again, don't throw the whole concept out. We got something here with the co-ed piece, but I will watch. I'll be curious to see what the leaderboard is, and some fun storylines will come from it. If you're not interested in the teams to begin with, ain't no way you're watching. And I am not interested in a lot of these team pairings because there's no backstory to why they're together. They're missing the opportunity. The draft is more important than the result half the time.
Right, and that would be the part that would get me to watch. Quick question: so Grant Thornton, they do auditing and financials. Do they allow? Is somebody allowed to wear a KPMG hat to a Grant Thornton event?
Oh yeah, all sponsor contracts are all sanctioned LPGA, PGA Tour events. So when I sign with Nike, in my contract says I will wear whatever, whether it's a sleeve, a pocket, a hat, a bag. That is it is clearly defined in all contracts what your apparel sponsors, where they are and are not. So, so for example, if you're a man sponsored by UPS, you are allowed to wear your UPS hat throughout the entirety of the FedEx Cup. I think the tour would work with you to try to steer away when possible, but if you can get your own brand deals that are competitors, it's okay. I'm sure there's some back channeling and some conversations that happen at the tour player level. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of those even come with, hey, if CME sponsors a lot of women as well, probably to avoid some competitors in their space.
Okay, yeah. The reason I was asking is because you were saying, how do these tournaments pick who they play? I'd be very interested to see if Grant Thornton's like, well, we don't want player X out there because they're sponsored by Deloitte, and I don't want them anywhere on here.
I mean, whether they'd say that out loud or not, I think that's very possible. Very. So, last thing on Grant Thornton, just how do you watch? So there is decent coverage, and again, this will be the last tournament of the old broadcast schedule. Again, we detailed last week all of the new broadcast enhancements, but there will be live golf Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all 3 days of this tournament. Friday, 10 to 1 Pacific time on Golf Channel. Saturday, you can see it on two different places. First from 11 to noon Pacific time on Golf Channel. Then it switches over to big broadcast NBC noon to 2 Pacific. And on Sunday, they start an hour earlier and they go 10 to 11 a.m. on Golf Channel and 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on NBC. Again, all times Pacific. So some decent viewing windows. Middle of the day, lunchtime, my kids are napping. A good opportunity to watch some of that golf for sure.
You got a pick for us?
No, but I'll come up with one. You got one?
I'm going to go Wyndham and Lexi.
All right. I'm going to say they're going to finish in the bottom 5.
Okay.
Just to make you really
That's what
question.
I'm rooting for. I think it's going to be Jason Day and Lydia Ko, but I'm rooting for Wyndham and Lexi.
Give me Charlie and Daniel Berger.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, didn't see that one coming. Okay, cool.
I mean, they both can go really low. Although, man, they got to be gassed at the end of the season. Okay, Tom, other news from the week?
Yeah, I think the biggest LPGA news this month is Nelly got engaged.
Congrats, Nelly.
Yeah.
You and your friend, are you going to go with your friend Jess Corda to the wedding?
Fingers crossed. Matron of honor might be a head table. We'll see. See how that goes.
That's big news for Nelly.
Big news. Happy for her. Congratulations. I'm sure, if she ends up getting married through the season, I'm sure there'll be some stupid think piece about, is this going to distract her and all that. I really hope that's not the case. I know that you and I both were somewhat involved in the planning of our weddings, and it was a big to-do, and we were probably about Nelly's age when we got married, right? But she's got people to do this. She's definitely way more focused on her career, I would think, and her tournaments and all that. So I guess that's just my only thing. I'm sure we will come back at some point next season and say, ooh, Nelly finished outside of the top 10 again this week. Her wedding's coming up. Is there something going on there? And I don't want to do that, Mark. Don't let me do that.
Okay, don't. I love knowing more about people's off-course personalities, whether they love dogs or whether they're just what it is they do with their spare time. From the photo reveal that Nelly did on social media, like beautiful, happy couple. Like you said, look at Nelly's life right now, man. She's sending shoes to LeBron James. She's the number 2 ranked player in the world. She's playing better golf than she ever has by all statistical measures. She's getting married now. Sounds like she's got her life in a pretty great place. And I'm sure there's more that goes on that Nelly would say, my life ain't that easy. And I'm sure she's right. But Nelly's doing a lot of things right. And it makes me happy that it looks like she's got another happy thing going on for her in her wedding. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of attention around when's the wedding, where's the wedding, who's going to be there and all of that. And when you and Jess Corda go, you can tell me who was there. Yeah, I think that's always just fun news to hear. Congrats to Nelly. Congrats to Nelly's family and her fiance. And hopefully her happiness brings more wins in 2026.
If you have suggestions for players or topics, you can send us an email at fringecoverage@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Instagram at Fringe Coverage Pod. And whether you're approaching from the fairway or the rough, we got you covered inside the fringe.